So here we are in the homemade studio of the Vose, and we will conduct an interview with the Omnius music composer.
Hello.
Or you are the overall composer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, I suppose we should start with questions.
Mm-hmm.
What is your name?
My name is Vo.
Excellent. What was your first forays into music?
I've been playing music for a very long time. I played music as a child. My parents put me through piano and violin and flute. So I've always been very close with music.
That's it.
Yep.
Always close with music. What was your favorite instrument growing up?
Piano. I wasn't really a big fan of the violin. I just never thought it sounded very good. Flute was pretty fun, but just didn't have the same sort of complexity and range that the piano did, so I definitely think the piano was my favorite.
What instrument would you play that you never got to play?
Definitely cello.
Oh,
I
interesting.
really love the cello. I love the way it sounds. If there was like any instrument that I could have learned to play while growing up, it would definitely be cello. And I'll probably mess around and try to learn how to play cello at some point in the future. So.
And what kind of music do you like now?
All sorts, all kinds. I wouldn't necessarily restrict myself to a genre or something like that. I just listen to music, and if I think it sounds good, I put it on my playlist and I listen to it. I like anything from classical music to hip hop, R&B, rap, jazz, alternative rock, all that stuff. So just whatever strikes my fancy, I guess.
Was there anything in particular in your Rolodeck of interests that inspired you to write the music for Omnius that you did?
It's I kind of realized what the creators are going for as far as the direction of that game and what they want to do with it. So I'm really trying to recall and take from other games that I've played, role playing games, specifically like Final Fantasy or you know that sort of game. Quest for Glory, just kind of old school RPGs. So I think back to those. Right, yeah, I tried to think back to those and recreate some of that.
Why work on a game soundtrack?
I thought it would be fun. I've written other music, just kind of off and on, and as a part of like a group of other musicians, I've written music with other people, and whenever they approached me with this project of writing a soundtrack for their game, I thought it would be very, very fun and interesting. I've never sort of taken part of a project this large before, really. I mean, any sort of writing I had done in the past had just been kind of for fun and because I wanted to do it, or maybe something inspired me particularly to write something. So this is kind of the most organized I've ever had to be as far as writing music, and I thought that it would be really, really fun to do so, especially because I'm very partial to a lot of game soundtracks. I just kind of growing up playing games, a lot of game soundtracks are among some of my favorite songs. I mean, a lot of classics, especially like I really liked Final Fantasy IX soundtrack.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah,
Underrated.
Yeah, and things like that. So I've always been very in tune with that sort of thing.
Chrono Trigger was one of them.
Chrono Trigger, definitely.
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger had really good music.
Well, obviously you do have very big game influences, so how did you go about starting to make music for Omnius? Did you sit down, lock yourself in a dark room, and like this one right here, and listen to some of your favorite soundtracks and got you started for inspiration? Or did you just sort of sit in silence and start creating from there?
The creative process for me kind of comes and goes. It's it depends on if I'm just writing because I'm already inspired by something, or if I'm writing because I need to, essentially, you know. So but really, what I try to do whenever I sit down and I start working on a piece, I will first, of course, the most important is catering to what the creators want it to sound like, kind of the idea. You know, this is fun, happy music, so it needs to at least sound fun and happy, and then you can go. You know, they're other than kind of the general feeling of the song. They're very uh, loose on what I can do with it. So I try to definitely I start with this concept and I try to capture that feeling, and I have to take it from there, and then from that point I do listen to other soundtracks to try to kind of get try to get examples of the kind of thing that I want to write, and I want it to sound like, um, and that's kind of where I start. So I start with this mood, this concept, and then I pick instruments that I think will best illustrate that, and I pick a style of music that I think will best illustrate that, and I try to listen to examples of said things, like Carnival, like the Chrono Trigger Carnival song, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So just stuff like that, and then from there I that's kind of, after I've picked all of those things, that's kind of where the creative process goes in full. So I at that point need to actually create the song, and yeah, I just really, one of the oddest things that I have to account for that I'd never done before in writing music is making sure that the music can loop back on itself.
Yes, that was what I was going to ask you. I know that you compose music outside of this, just on your own, and so I was wondering if you found one to be almost more difficult than the other, due to the fact that for game music, not only does it have to loop, but it has to be almost muted, or background music, yet still
Yeah.
stand out on its own. Was that difficult for you?
Yeah, it's definitely writing with a different purpose in mind. You know, for usually whenever you're composing or writing music, you're trying to make it stand out, and that's what and you're trying to kind of express this idea. But whenever you're writing background music, you actually don't want it to be too busy. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
don't want it to kind of be overbearing, because you have to keep in mind that the players who are playing your game are very involved with the mechanics of the game and the story of the game. So, and you don't really want to detract from that. You're really trying to add to the mood. You don't want to be the mood. You know,
Of course.
so keeping that in mind was something that was very different and unique that I had to do.
Hmm. It's true. Well, in a way, would you find that your music helps guide a mood? So is it also sort of difficult sometimes to invoke that feeling in yourself? Or do you usually, like, let's say you have to write a song for a more sadder scene. But if you're not in the mood, do you just work on a different piece? And then you come back to the one set piece? Or do you like to try to finish everything all together within a relative amount of time? Like, you work on one song, there's a certain level of songs that you work on, or do you not mind having a whole bunch of unfinished pieces and you work on each one until they're done?
That's a good question. Uh, I would be lying if I said that I didn't hit roadblocks every now and then. Definitely, when I'm working on a piece, there are points in time where I'm just like, man, I just don't know what I need to do now. Like, this clearly needs something, and I just don't know what it is at the moment. I am a severe completionist, so I do find that it is hard for me to set a piece down and work on another one, but I also realize that I need to be more productive, you know, so I don't have all the time that I want to just work on something until it's done. So yes, if I am working on a piece and I kind of hit a kind of plateau, and I can't find the next spot to climb up, then I try to set it down and get started on the next one, and that does lead to a cluster of songs that are unfinished, but you can get past a lot of the beginning stuff without much effort, before you kind of go into the full creation proper. You can once again work through that mood and work through the what you want it to sound like, what instruments you want to pick. You kind of get started on each one and work on them slowly. But I do try. It just bothers me when they're unfinished songs, so I really try to get one done and then move on to another one before getting too far.
Are you the kind that nitpicks as well? You go back and you kind of like re-edit and re-edit and re-edit?
Oh, yes,
or
absolutely. Okay. Besides completionism, I also am like OCD perfectionist type. I really, at some point, I really have to tell myself, okay, I should just turn this in. Sometimes whenever I complete a work, I try my best to not look at it for a while
like,
and just let it simmer, and then I'll come back to it later and take a look at it and see if there's any, because if I just keep working on it, I could work on it forever and say, oh, I could change this here, I can add a little bit here. So I try to just call it done, and then maybe I'll revisit it later. But so I just really, for productivity's sake, I need to finish finish this stuff. So I try to get done and then let it go.
Well, obviously you are probably very proud of all the pieces that you've done, but is there a song in particular that the players should look forward to? A particular piece you might have been very proud of or highlight?
Of the songs that I've fully completed thus far, I really like the Carnival song a lot. I really tried to pull in kind of an Eastern European sound with that song, and I think that I did a pretty okay job at doing so. And I'm pretty happy with that piece thus far. Of course, I feel like I could use more work, much like everything else I've written. So, but as far as where it's at now, I like it a lot. Of course, I am also fond of the other music that I've written. So, but I think maybe they could look forward to the Carnival song somewhere.
Well, saying that we already spoke of games, what kind of games are you playing right now? Any favorites in particular?
I play all sorts of games. I don't really stick to one particular type per se. I mean, I play games spanning anywhere from board games, card games, miniatures games, video games. So I play all of that. I'm very big into fighting games right now. Fighting games is kind of on the rise, I suppose. It's getting up there in the esports genre, so not quite League of Legends or StarCraft worthy, but it's kind of getting up there, and I really enjoy the challenge it presents. But besides fighting games, I still play card games like Netrunner, Magic the Gathering, miniatures games like War Machine. I don't really have time. I don't have time to play all these all the time, but.
Yeah.
But but I try to fit them in when I can. I definitely like to try new games, and play a diverse field of games because it keeps it interesting, So.
It's all right. Let's see. What other things do you do besides the video games and the music composing?
Well, this goes into the music thing. I am a ballroom dance instructor. So that's what I do to make money and live, I suppose. So I teach ballroom dance, and I spend a lot of my time dancing and actually working with music, cutting and editing music a lot. So this is I'm not unaccustomed to working with music. Besides that, like I do play the games, I'm also very involved with martial arts. I've been taking martial arts for a very long time, almost equally as long as I've been playing music, so I'm very involved with my martial arts studio, and I teach there, and I also do performances for Chinese New Year's and lion dances and martial arts demonstrations, so I'm very involved with that, and I hope to go to martial arts tournaments this summer to compete, so that's also very exciting. But yeah, I try. I guess it sounds like I do a lot of things. I try.
You do.
I try to do new things and things that I think that I would like. So I guess I have a very diverse field of expertise.
So what's your sleep schedule like? With
Uh,
everything going on.
Scarce, rare, and don't sleep a whole lot. I'll reserve that for when I get older.
Suppose. Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. Well, I think that kind of conducts the interview for today. Anybody have any additional questions or anything can leave comments and ask additional questions, and perhaps if we have time we'll make another video.
Yeah.
And if you would like to grace us with your presence once again here at the Vo Studio.
I'm very happy to write music for Ominous, and I'm very thankful for the people who can make this possible, which is the supporters of our Kickstarter and supporters of our game. So I'm giving it my all despite my busy schedule. I am making this a priority in my life so that we can get this game out there and have you guys playing it. I look forward to writing more music for you in the future, so I hope you enjoy.
All right, thank you so much.